Am I good? Or on? Okay, hold on. Let's get it on here so we can see. Oh, that is a delight. Wow, what a cheesy face.
Where is it?
We're on. We're live. Nobody's here but us, but that's okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, 3 people are watching. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Can you turn that down so I don't have to listen to myself? That.
So.
All right, perfect. All right, good morning. Sorry, we're having an interesting start. Trying to get all of our equipment and everything set up and make sure that we're good. So I'll give you guys a minute. Come on, say hello, get settled, grab your coffee or your wine. It's 11 o'clock, no judgments. Do what you gotta do. So, is anybody on?
George Siciliano, Deb Colomb.
Hello, hello. All right, well, I know you guys are coming, so I'm just gonna start talking and you'll join in, and then we're gonna do some hardware demos again. So I have my list here again, so I don't forget anything. I'm gonna try my best. A couple quick things, like I asked last week, if you would please like the page, follow the page, and feel free to share the videos. As small businesses, we all have to support each other and support each other as a community. So if you could do that for me, if you aren't already, I would greatly appreciate that. That's that. And I just wanted to let you guys know, I know some of you I know locally. Some of you have known me through guilds and classes and things, and you're familiar with Log Cabin Fabrics. That's the shop that I tagged down below a couple posts. I am doing Facebook Lives for them now on Thursdays. So if you can't get enough of me and you just need to see more, you can always follow along on Thursdays on their page at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're in New York. So if you want to, also if you're interested, we did some kind of updates and different things last night, and then also they have tons of kits and some new fabric that they have. The fabric, they have half-yard bundles on sale, just kind of giving them a little shout out. But if you have a local quilt shop of yours that you absolutely love that is on Facebook, feel free to tag them in the comments and I'll go over and say hi on their page.
Marlene wants to know if that bag is for her.
Marlene, no, this bag is not for you, but we'll talk about that later. Thank you. It means you like it, so that's great. We're going to get to the pretty stuff soon. For now, you just have to look at me for a minute. I'll get through all this real quick. So that was that. So Log Cabin on Thursdays. Tell me your local quilt shop. And I have some new things to show you, and I have some YouTube info for you. But the first thing that I wanted to ask you is I need a favor from all of you. I want to keep doing these Facebook Fridays. I'm loving them. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I'm actually getting to be in touch with all of you, which is really nice. So I'm going to ask you a favor. If you are liking Facebook Fridays, if you want me to keep doing these, I am not going anywhere in the near future. So I can't take you with me on the road or show you anything pretty much outside of this office. So tell me what you want to see. Leave me a comment. I'm not asking because I just want you to say, yes, we like it. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Is there something I haven't talked about? Is there a topic that you want me to discuss? Don't forget, I am also a quilter. I know you know me as a bag maker mostly, but I do also quilt. So there's things that we can do there. I have a list of ideas, but I mean, we all know I can ramble on for 6 hours about nothing. So I want to know what it is that you want to hear. You better stop shaking your head or you're going to get fired. Barb's here. So just in case you didn't know why I'm laughing at her. And she's watching right now, so she's reading some of the comments if you have any questions while we're talking today. But please, and thank you, leave me some ideas. Do you want to talk about corked? Is there another kind of hardware you want to talk about? Do you want to watch me sew something? Obviously, I can't do a full demo for you on a bag. That's what other platforms are for. We'll get there. I'm segueing into that. But just let me know what it is that you want to see. And if you have a really cool idea, maybe I'll send you a prize. I mean, it's possible. I've been watching some other YouTube videos, not necessarily just sewers, but I watch a lot of like makeup tutorials, and they'll do fun things that are just, you know, hey, how you doing? Let's ask questions. So there's always like an ask me anything kind of an idea. If you're up for that, tell me. Yes.
Marlene would like to know if you would do a makeup tutorial.
Marlene, I will do a makeup tutorial just for you if anybody else is interested in it. And thank you. But yes, that's my other hobby. You can ask my husband about my stash of makeup. I would absolutely do that if it was something you all wanted to see. But seriously, if there's something you want, tell me. Let's make this fun. Let's make this interactive, and and I'll give you a shout out if you give me an idea and I do it. Send you a little something as a thank you. But I just want to keep you all entertained. I can entertain myself quite well. So that was that. One quick thing before we get into bags and hardware. I told you last week I started a YouTube channel. Finally, I'm very behind the times, but I'm getting there. And so I have a new kit for you this week to show. And part of that kit is a recessed zipper for the top and a zippered pocket. And even though all of that information is in the pattern, and I've done a blog tutorial on zippered pockets, I have a full video. So from start to finish, sorry, I got distracted. Start to finish making a zippered pocket, how to put it in, how to finish it, and then also how to do a recessed zipper. I did not get a chance to upload it last night. I have to just do a little bit more editing. I'm hoping today or tomorrow. And as soon as it's up, I will link it on Facebook, and the link is also on my website, right on the homepage. So my YouTube channel, I think I have 8 subscribers. Thank you to all of you. But that's okay, we're working on it. Barb is one of them. She was my first, but that's okay. So I'm gonna get that uploaded, and I'm trying to do some more of those kinds of videos so that if you are hung up on a pattern, or if you have a pattern that is not mine, I don't know why you would, but you might, I'm just kidding, or a pattern of mine that I didn't include that in, that you can go back and you can say, great, I can add these components to a bag I'm already making. Some of you like to just make bags up as you go, so this will give you some information. So if there's other things like that that you want me to put on YouTube, please let me know, okay? So enough about me. I said all of it. Okay, I'm gonna show you some pretty stuff, and then we're gonna do some strap hardware tutorials, okay? First things first, Judy and Regina, if you are watching, you were the ones that were commenting and wanted to know what this bag was. And Diane, I don't know if you're watching or not, you know who you are. You said you thought you knew what I was making the other day. Let's see if you're right. Tell me if you guessed the Abby Sling. I made a new sample from the new Anna Maria Horner that came in, and without planning, that fabric matched really nicely with my Gypsy collection. So I really loved that combo, and I used the sapphire metallic cork. The fabric reads blue-gray. It kind of can go in either direction, and I originally thought charcoal, but I just love this little pop of sparkle on there. This bag doesn't have any hardware. I added a handmade tag in gunmetal that goes with my zipper, but since there's no hardware, you can do any color you want if you want to add any little accessories. So I kitted this up with and without the pattern, because the pattern is a couple years old, but I have been desperately needing a new sample, so I made this one. Now, what I was mentioning before, there is a zippered pocket in this bag on the back. There it is. All right. So this tutorial is coming to YouTube any day now. And also this right here, your recessed zippered closure. I discovered how to do this probably like a year or two ago, and I don't want to finish my bags any other way because I love that I still get the width of my bag. It is open on the ends, but I do not have anything fall out on me. But my bag keeps a nice structure, and it doesn't pinch it closed on the top like a zipper across the top would. So that is one of my favorite ways to close it. But I will tell you the technique of putting this in, sometimes it's written step by step. There's a lot of bold letters, and it tells you how to do it in all of the patterns, but your brain does not think that it's right. It happens all the time. People think that I'm telling them it's wrong, or they think it's backwards, and there's a reason why it looks that way, and I explain that in the tutorial. So that will show you how to go from this right here to this in your bag. It is not a tutorial that's going to show you start to finish how to make the bag. I don't complete the bag in the video. It's just focused on these two zippered components. So this is a kit on the website. It includes the pretty orchid and gunmetal zipper, which goes with both fabrics. There's pockets inside. Lots of pockets, because I love to pretend I'm organized. And that is the Abby Sling bag. So that is new. Put her here. I also have Steam-A-Seam, light Steam-A-Seam 2 tape. I finally got that uploaded. I've been meaning to do that for a while. This is what I use to do my zippered pockets and to do my recessed zippers. So this right here is key for making everything nice and straight and to make you not rip your hair out. I suggest that you have this if you're doing any zippers. And last, there's a few ribbons. I got a few more of the Tulip Pink ribbons from Homemade, the scissors, the tape measure, and this one, I'm not sure if that's reading as well. It's scissors, but also kind of like just fun stuff behind it, little vines. These all go with the fabrics. Those are all on the website on the Renaissance Ribbons tab. So, unless there's any questions on all of that, I think we're gonna go on and do some hardware. I wanted to get all that stuff out of the way quick because I have 3 different types of strap hardware to show you, and I brought some samples. So, first things first, I wanna just show you the colors. And just to kind of show you, we do have all of the strap hardware in different colors. Is that reading?
It's hard to see the color.
Okay, Barb's gonna scoot over, so hold on. She's gonna come close.
Make you sick.
All right, so we've got the rose gold, the silver, and the yellow gold, the antique brass, gunmetal, and then I wanted to show you 2 of the rainbow. We don't hand select these and we put them in a bag. They're just selected at random, but just to show you how different they can look, I love it. You can get something that's pink and yellow, something that's green and blue. You get a lot of different colors from the rainbow. So depending on what you order, you will have kind of your own set.
I'll
hold it up.
Really see the color.
Well, I don't know if that's gonna work. Is that?
It's a little better. You can see the colors.
Well, anyway, that's okay. So you can see them on the website, but just so you know, all of the hardware I'm going to show you today, we have in all 6 finishes. So these are the icicles. So I'm going to start with those. All right. And do you want to zoom back out and I'll show you some bags? So this right here, this is the Harper Bag. This one I love. It's a really big bag too. It's large like the Abby bag, not as tall. This one in the pattern does not include information for either of the strap anchors. The reason is I wrote the pattern and then got them. So that is why I have tutorials for everything I'm going to show you today on my website. They're on my blog. They're all linked on there. Today I'm showing you in person, but if you need any help, you don't have to worry about writing anything down. You can go back and take a look. So this is a Harper in cork with a little bit of fabric on the side. I embroidered this one, and that's the antique brass. Turn around, maybe you can see it a little bit better there.
A little closer to you.
Closer.
You can see the color better. Hug it, Jess. Hug it.
So that's the brass icicle, and then this is the rose gold. And this is the Ellie handbag, so just a different color, different style bag. This pattern does include information for the icicles and one of the other ones. As we progress, I try to do tutorials, but they're not always included in patterns. When it comes to strap anchors, any bag pattern that you have, whether it's mine or someone else's, that has either top or front anchored handles, you can use one of these. It's just adding a little extra bag bling. So it's not really changing anything. I could sew these to the top if I wanted and skip that.
Somebody wants to know the name of your YouTube channel. Peg does.
My YouTube channel is So Many Creations. However, and it might be something I did wrong, I don't know. When you look up So Many Creations, a million videos come up and they're not necessarily mine. Sometimes they're videos of people that have done like my wallets and stuff. I have no idea why. I'm still figuring out YouTube. But if you go on my website, right on the top, there's little icons for all the different things. There is a YouTube icon. Or if you type in cork mini boxy tutorial, the little boxy bag we talked about last week, that will bring you to the page. I'm trying to figure out if it's me or if it's just my name being kind of generic in the sewing world. I'm not really sure. But it's easy if you just go right onto the website. So we're going to talk about icicles first, but I want to show you the other styles. So those are the long ones. There is also the jewels. So if the long ones are a little bit too long for you, we've got, let me turn this around without the tag, the jewels. So these are just cute little triangular, same concept, holds the strap the same way, just a different look depending on what you like. These are the rainbow ones, and again, you can probably see, hopefully, how many colors are in this one and how this one kind of has different colors. It's a cool iridescent look. Can you see that? Is it picking up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's dark at the bottom.
Down here.
Mm.
We're working on our lighting situation. So we have fluorescent lights in here. So I'm doing the best I can. It was either this or I do this at home and my dogs bark the whole time. So this is better. I also, another Ellie. I used the jewels on here in the rose gold. This is wool on top. I don't know if you knew you could use wool on a bag, but it's kind of cool. It gives some cool texture with the cork. So those are jewels. And then last but not least is the newest ones. These are not in any of the patterns yet, but there is a tutorial. The strap ends, which are these right here, and the strap keepers. And I'm gonna show you how to do all three of those today. So I'm gonna grab my supplies and I'm gonna show you how to put in the icicles. We're gonna start with that, okay? And again, don't worry if you don't need to write anything down. It's in some of the patterns and it's on, there's links on the website. So, so here is, this is a Kaylee bag. This is how it starts. Same bag that's here. So whenever you're putting your hardware on, and we talked about this last week, your bag is going to be partially made, not completed, but partially put together. So in this case, I have already sewn my pieces together for the outside, and I would do the same for the back. And then I put my icicles on. Got another question? You just checking?
No, I'm
Okay.
just looking at.
Don't worry, we're just having a conversation without you guys, sorry. So this one is all on the cork, and I have just prepared here just a regular cotton fabric. So on the back of this cotton is decor bond and then fusible fleece. On the back of the cork, I have put interfacing. The cork is strong enough to hold the hardware. For this particular bag, I wanted something just a little bit more structured, and it just wasn't giving me quite what I wanted, so I did fuse some interfacing on the back here. It helps to keep this center seam nice and flat. So this interfacing is not necessarily hardware based, it's more for this particular bag. But this one, if you're using cotton fabric and you're putting any of this hardware on, this stuff can get a little heavy on your fabric. I don't think that it's heavy when you're carrying it. It doesn't really have like a lot of weight to it. But when you put it on a bag, it's going to tear your cotton if you don't interface it properly. So whenever I do this, I always have my cotton backed with decor bond and then fleece. And can you come in and I'll show you guys how to, okay.
I'm coming.
All right, so first things first, when you are putting your hardware on, you're always going to be making markings on the back here, okay? So that way you can make sure that everything stays nice and straight. You're not worrying that your hardware, when the bag is done, is not going to be even. So what I do is I always find my center, and I'm just folding this in half. These are just some random pieces I had, so I don't want to measure because I'm lazy. So I always find my center, and I'm always working at the top. This one obviously does not matter, but I'm always measuring from the top. So this is the top of my bag, and you can see some lines here, okay? So for the jewels and the icicles, the short triangular ones and the long ones, they're gonna start out very similar. You're gonna have a line in the center here. For the icicles, for these long guys right here, we're going to make a mark 1.5 inches down. And I just draw across like this. You'll see this in the YouTube video for the zippers too. I like to do marks that go one way and then the other way instead of trying to get my ruler and do everything at once. I find it easier to go in one direction and then the next. So I found my center, I worked down. I just need to know where 1.5 inches from the top is. Now I'm going to go out 2.5 inches from the center because I want these 5 inches apart. Okay, does that make sense? So I just mark 2.5. And I'm always going down towards the bottom of the bag. And 2.5. And if you draw these lines really well, and you have everything nice and straight, That's going to keep everything straight when you get this put together. We don't want these icicles kind of wonky. So once you have this, in your package are some washers. And I knew I was going to forget something. All right.
And somebody is asking, Decor Bond Light or Decor Bond Heavy?
There is only one Decor Bond. It's number 809. Pellon does not name them different things. If you search Decor Bond and it comes up with other things, it's incorrect. So it's a medium weight, and it is number 809. So in your package, you're going to get 4 of these, 2 for the front, 2 for the back, and you're going to get 4 of the washers as well. And then you're also going to get a package of screws. So the Icicles have screws. They're not as small as Diva screws, but they are still small. So for these, I use my little screwdriver here that I had used last week for the twist locks. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm still working on the back. I'm going to take this washer and I put it right in this corner here, just like that. And on the back here, hopefully you can see that, there is a screw hole in the center, okay, right there. And there's 2 prongs, and it's the same on the bottom. So there is 1 screw at the top, 1 at the bottom, and there's 2 prongs on either side. Those prongs give stability to the hardware. In your washer, you'll see that there's 6 holes, but you only need to work with 2 of those, and it's the center ones. So I always mark with my pen right in the center. So there's my 2 dots. Those are the only ones that I really need to worry about. If I'm working on cork, because cork doesn't have that same forgiveness that fabric does, it doesn't really push out as much like you can on a piece of fabric. If I'm working on cork, I will also mark the rest of them. And these little holes right here, just on cork, I make sure that I cut them as well so that the prong can poke through. The prong needs to get through, and on fabric, it's not as much of an issue as it is on the cork. So,
Another question.
yes.
What did you stabilize the cork with?
The Decor Bond 809. That is the only interfacing that I ever use. The fusible fleece is an extra, and I don't use that on cork. I just use that on fabric. So I'm going to grab my little scissors and my seam ripper. So when you're doing these, you don't need any special tools beyond a screwdriver, scissors, and a seam ripper. These are not anything that you need to buy any special presses or anything like that for. And what I'm going to do is, just in this center hole right here, I'm going to take my little seam ripper and just kind of make a little X just to get it started. And then I'll take my scissors. These are the Kai, the little ones. They're super, super pointy and sharp. I'll get in there and just kind of make a hole and kind of twist that around, just like that. Because I need to make sure that I can get my screw through here. If the screw can't get through the fabric, it can't get into the hardware. So I take this, I take 2 of my screws. There we go. And I start on the back. I put my screw on my screwdriver. I put it through the center hole. I like to start at the top. It really doesn't matter. I get that in there, and I'm gonna push this through. And I just use my fingers. I know that it's really small, you probably can't see that, but I'm pushing that all the way through to make sure that I can see the end of the screw. If I can't see it, it's not ready for hardware. And then I take my hardware, and sometimes you'll hear it click. Sometimes you'll just kind of feel it. Once it's in there, just go ahead and tighten that up. And I don't know if you can see. Can you see how right there the little prongs are kind of pushing through? I don't know if that's really going to read, but you'll kind of feel that. The prongs are pushing the fabric into those holes and stabilizing it. So before I go on and do the bottom screw, I take my Gutermann glue, and I'm not going to do it on this one since it's just a sample, and I take my glue and I run a little bit of glue under here. If you look at the back of these, they're hollowed out to keep the weight down, so you really can't put any kind of glue on this surface. It would just make a mess of the front of your bag, and if you put it in here, it wouldn't touch anything. So what I do is I put it on the washer, And I find that that stabilizes it. It makes it stay nice and still. And then as I'm using my bag, I'm not worried that a screw will come out or that anything's gonna shift. You can also put a little bit of glue over the screws or in the screws if you want to, totally up to you. And here's a little trick that I found for getting this second screw in. Before I put the screw in, I take my screwdriver, I put it through the washer and through the hole, poke it through to the front, and then I put my hardware, I put it right in the hole, and then I take it out. And now if I put my screw in, it's usually lined right up in there. Let's see if that worked. Yep, all right. And that way I can get that on there nice and tight. So that's how that looks. It's nice and secure. It would have glue underneath it. And then I have my second one over here, and when it's done, it looks like this. Okay, we're gonna talk about the hardware first, excuse me, and then I'll show you how to finish this up with your handles, okay? So let me show you the jewels. The jewels are a very similar principle, but they don't have any screws, just washers. I'll show you how to do those, and then I'll show you how to put the handles on. So let's move that. So I took another piece here. Again, it's cotton, so it has the interfacing and the fleece on the back, and I already made my marks for this one. The only difference for the jewels, I'm still 5 inches apart. I still want to know where my center is, but this first line is 2 inches down instead of 1.5. Because the jewels are shorter, I went down a tiny bit further. Again, you can alter this however you want. If you're working on something and you want them higher or lower, that's up to you. I wouldn't go anything drastic. If you put them too close to the top, you may have problems top stitching when you're done, and obviously too far down is probably just gonna look a little strange. So I find that the 1.5 to 2 inch mark works. So for the jewels, I have my marks here, and this is how they differ. The jewels have washers, but their washers kind of look like the twist lock washers. My gut's hanging over on the table. You didn't tell me. Welcome to quarantine weight.
The bracket's right. The bracket's pretty much covered, so
Perfect. So
I can't see it.
I told you we entertain ourselves. If you don't give me ideas for things you want to see, I'm just going to talk about my gut or my dogs, whichever. So these are the washers that come in the jewels. So you're going to use 2 of these per jewel. So you have 4 jewels right here, and you get 8 washers, 2 per jewel. And one little tip here, I didn't bring the right seam ripper, but I'll show you anyway here. The brass has a matte finish, so these don't come with plastic on them. Any of the ones that come with a shiny finish have plastic wrap on them, and sometimes it comes off. I have no fingernails, I can't get a hold of anything. So, of course, I can't even see. I need my nails done.
Don't we all?
I know, right? So there's plastic that's on there. So you can usually pull this part off on the front, but right here and right here is a seam, and the plastic will get stuck underneath that. And if you take your seam ripper, and this will work, but I actually have the scalpel style. I like that a little bit better. If you run that just in the seam, really, really close, you don't want to scratch anything else, run it right in there, the plastic will pop off. There is instructions for that in the tutorial. I don't want to take the plastic off a piece of product here, but the plastic can be kind of a pain in the butt, but it does come off, and check out the tutorial for some info on that. So first things first, on the jewels, the little legs are always kind of crooked, so first thing I always do is straighten them out. It just makes me feel better. I don't know why. I'd have to do that first. So there's my little jewel. I'll straighten those out. I have my lines, and in this outside corner is where I'm going to put my first washer to make my marks. And again, I butt the washer right up into that corner, and I check with my little prongs. We talked about this a little bit in the twist lock tutorial, that you want to just check, or with your handmade tags, to make sure you don't cut the wrong hole. And I just check this one, and sometimes it's the second one up from the bottom and the second from the top. Sometimes it's a little bit off. Just check them before you do any marking or cutting. And I'm just putting those in there, and as long as I'm consistent, it's gonna be nice and straight. I'm gonna go with the second down and the third up. Before I move this, I've marked in those 2 openings. You're gonna take your little skinny ruler. Where is she? I had it this morning. No, I had a little skinny one. Oh well. Jessica lost something. That's weird. Okay, so I take my ruler, and I hate this measurement, but unfortunately it is what it is. You need to place this 3/8 of an inch. I gotta find a good 3/8 I can see on here. There we go. That's why I want my other ruler. 1, 2, 3.
I don't see it.
I know, I don't. I don't know where it went. That's okay. Actually, let me try that one, because this one's not showing the way I want it to. Okay, here we go. So 3/8 of an inch. So I've started in the inner corner and I'm working out. And I'm going 3/8 of an inch from that edge, and I butt my next one right up against the ruler, right up against the top line, and then I'm gonna use my pen and make those same marks. I'm doing second down, third up, just like that. Once I have those done, I again take my seam ripper and put my seam ripper right here, and I slide that over, and I always slide towards the inside. So if I overcut by accident, if my seam ripper slides, try saying that, I don't have to worry that I have a tear in the bag. I can kind of slide that into the middle. And then I'll do this one. I put it in, I slide it over. You can use those sharp scissors, but I'm just more comfortable with the seam ripper. I find that I get better results that way. From the front, I take this, and I always do the point down. I don't know if it actually matters, but it's just the way it looks right to me, so I always do point towards the bottom. Put that right through there, like that. That's how it looks on the back. All right. And then I take my washers and pop them on, like so. Now, in the tutorial that's on the website, I did also mention that I like to put a little extra cushion in here, a little folded piece of decor bond or fleece. And I usually will do that. I don't have one with me right here, but I do like to just add a little cushion between here and the washer, because these can be a little bit sharp and I just don't want them to rip my fabric. Once I have that in, I just go ahead and press the prongs in towards each other. And if you don't have strong fingers, or if you're having a problem folding them in, if you use the flat side of your 4-in-1 tool, you can just use that, or you can take your scissors and you can just use your scissors to kind of push that over. And then that is how the jewel looks. So once that's in, and it looks like this, I put my other one on the other side, and then I do my front and my back, and now I'm ready to put my handles on. So when it comes to the handles, just to let you know, and if these are in any of the patterns, it is factored into that, but in case you're adding this onto something else, the opening in here, you can do a handle that's 3/4 to 1 inch wide. You can't do anything wider. If you're using the jewel, you can go 1 inch to 1.25 inches. So it depends. You can make it however wide you want. I think these handles on this one are 1 inch. So, excuse me, even though there's a little bit of wiggle room, it doesn't look bad at all. And you can also on the, I made these a little bit skinnier. These are 3/4 of an inch, I believe. Yes. But if I went up to 1 inch, it works in here too. So when it comes to handles, if you remember last week, we were talking about slide sets. And I told you that when you were adding a slide set to cotton, that you wanted to have that one end that didn't have interfacing. We want to do the same thing on these, because when you put your handle in, and this is 1 inch wide, so you can see how that looks. I always have my handle going this way, facing down, and you're going to once again fold that once and then bring it here, and you're going to stitch. You'll stitch back and forth right there. And you can see my stitching on here. So there's my stitching, okay? So with the cotton, that's what you always want to do, is make sure that you have that loose end. Otherwise, if you try to fold all of this interfacing over, it's going to be way. So that's for cotton. For cork, it's the same as before. You can leave that raw edge because it's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to fray. And you just take your cork, you just slip it through, fold it over, and stitch back and forth. One little tip I will give you here too. Yes, on this sample I used a purple thread. I would not normally do that. Because you're going to be stitching back and forth and kind of reinforcing that, the closer you match to your fabric color, the happier you'll be in the end. If I did this in a white, I'm going to see this big line of white, and sometimes if I'm not straight, it'll drive me nuts. If you use a pink thread or a neutral thread, you'll be happier when you're done with those. So that's how you do each of those styles. And I have one more for you, but that one's done a little bit differently. So that's why I wanted to show you those first. How you doing? Your
Good.
arms? Good.
No,
okay.
I'm fine.
So, I want to take your phone. Excuse me. Allergies
Everybody
are wonderful.
loves your videos.
Well, thank you. What do you want to see next? I can juggle. I'll have to learn. We can talk about cork. We can talk about some sewing things. I can show you how to sew curves in quilting. We can talk about, we can do like little mini lectures. We could do like a question and answer, and it doesn't have to be sewing related. You can ask me anything if you want to do that. We could even do it as a surprise. I can give you Barb's email and she'll give me questions and I'll answer them live. I just want to keep you guys entertained until I get to leave again. And speaking of that, that was an accidental transition. Before I talk about the last hardware, I just found out last week, before the Facebook, I forgot to tell you guys, 2 more of the shows that I had planned on attending in August and September have been canceled. As of right now, there are 3 that are pending. I don't have the answers for them. I don't know if they're actually going to go. I don't know if I'm going to go. I don't have an answer yet. But if I do go, I will definitely take my Facebook with me and I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, I think I'm pretty much home until January. So give me your feedback, give me your ideas if you want to keep doing Facebook Fridays. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and eat my breakfast in front of you. And I mean, come on. So give me ideas, throw them at me. And again, link your local shops down there. I want to see where you shop and I want to say hi to them. So last hardware, and then if you have any questions, we'll come back to questions. So the last piece of hardware is this right here. That's not really helping. Let's look at one on a finished bag. So this right here, this one for me is kind of when a jewel and an icicle is a little bit too much for you. Maybe you just want to add a little bit of color, a little bit of metal, but you don't want to be over the top. You want something a little bit more subtle. These are for my subtle ladies, which if you know me, I am not, but I do really like these. So this is a set. There are 2 different pieces here, so you would order both of them because some people use these strap ends with rivets. I don't do anything with rivets or Chicago screws, but I've seen a lot of bag makers. I follow a ton of bag makers. Put these ends on and then they rivet or they use screws in here. I like to sew them on because that's just kind of in my nature. And then I like to use these little strap keepers. So I'm going to show you how to do these. Because they need to be sewn, I have a sample that I already did. So first things first, I hope you cannot see the mess that's happening on this side of the camera because I did a really good job. So no, this way. Okay, so this one right here, this is another Kaylee bag. So again, I prepped the front, I did my top stitching, I have my interfacing on the back, okay? I interface before I top stitch, and she's good to go. So I decided I wanted to use the rose gold. This cork right here is the, it's not the Merlot, Ruby. Thank you. Good thing Barb's here. Who owns this place?
I don't know.
This is the Ruby. And so these flecks in here are a little gold, but a little rose gold. It kind of picks up. You can even use brass with this. I just thought it was a really fun texture, and I haven't used this cork yet, so I wanted to play with it. With the Feather Fantasy, named by Marlene. So, I don't know if you know, she remembers she named it. So what I did here is I already put my strap ends on, and I'll show you those right here. So there is definitely a front and a back to this, okay? Your front is nice and clean. Your back has a little bit of texture, and it has the screw holes. Now, let's talk about screws, because we already discussed last week how much I hate them. you will get the screws in your packet. They come standard with your strap ends. However, if you don't want to use these, you really don't have to, because when they're on the bag, you don't see them. So I put them on because I was really late this morning when I was putting this together and I didn't have time for the glue to dry. But normally I just take my glue, I put glue inside the little strap end. I had one sitting here, there we go. I just take this, I use either on the end of the handle, or if I want to, I'll put the little glue in the channel and I just pop it right on. And most of the time I don't put the screws in, because the screws I don't need if I'm using glue, and I always have glue. And sometimes I'm just not in the mood for those teeny tiny little screws. These do fit the Diva screwdriver. So if you have that, you can use it for these as well. So for these, they are on here, but they're also glued. Now they're nice and dry. So first things first on this. Again, we're gonna start the same. We're gonna flip this over onto the back. And I need to know where my center is. I'm always, always, always finding the center. Okay, so center, there is my center, okay? And for these, and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I didn't get that wrong. These are going to be, actually, why did I mark on the back? I didn't need to mark on the back. Hold on, I lied to you. I need a pin. There we go. If you're new here, welcome. I do stupid things a lot. All right, so I know where my center is, and I'm just gonna put a pin right there, okay? So now I know where the center of my bag is. These are going to get anchored on the front, and I'm not gonna do any measurements. I'm just gonna use clips to hold them in place. So what I want is I want them to be, again, 5 inches apart, so 2.5 to the right, 2.5 to the left, and I want them to be 3 inches down. So what I like to do is take my ruler here. There's my 2.5 over, so I know that I'm spaced right this way. I take this and I put that right here, and then I check my measurement. 1, 2, 3. And I'm down a little bit too far, so I'll just bump that up, okay? So I'm measuring 3 inches from the top to the very end of the strap anchor. Just like that, my right side is out. And then I'm gonna take a couple clips here. I did put a pin in the cork. Some of you might be cringing. It's not gonna hurt anything. But for this part, I do put the clips in. Yes?
What is the name of the glue?
The Gutermann HT2, it's on the website. This is a metal to fabric compatible glue. It's the only glue that I really like because it doesn't glue itself together and it has a fine tip, which I'll show you. So you can see the nice fine tip, and it won't glue itself to the cap. You probably didn't see it, but that's okay. I don't want the glue to come out. But this tube has been open for several months and it still opens and works just fine, not like E6000. E6000 is suitable, but I don't like that I can usually only use it once. So Gutermann on the website on the Notions page. Now that I have the right side done, I want to make sure that I'm 5 inches apart here, okay? And I also want this one to be 3 inches down. And this ruler is 2.5 inches, as I just figured out. When I put my handle on, just like I would with any other handle, I'm making sure that it's not twisted. I don't want to flip this around and get a twist. So I make sure that that's nice and straight. And 1, 2, 3, like that. And then I also will take my ruler and just kind of make sure that that's pretty even. Take my clips and clip. Okay. Now, once these are in place, I need to take this to the sewing machine to sew it, but I need to know where I'm sewing. So only so you can see it on camera. Let me try the green chalk, otherwise I'll use my pen. I want to mark 1 inch up from the bottom. So from here up. Let's see if this picks up. Can you see that?
Okay.
That's okay. We're just gonna go in with pen because it's my bag. I can do whatever I want. Okay? So there's my mark. I'm measuring 1 inch from here to here, and I'm just marking on the strap. And then I do the same thing here. Okay? Now I'm gonna take this to my sewing machine. Ta-da! I did already.
It's a miracle.
And it's a neutral thread, so I know that you're not gonna see this on camera, but I stitched back and forth about 3 or 4 times, and I tried not to go over too far off the edge of the strap. A stitch or 2 is fine, but you don't want to come out here because we want to make sure that these can be covered with the strap keepers. So the strap keepers are really just keeping the thread hidden. They're not really keeping the strap in place. They're more decorative than anything else. But to put these on, I'll show you back here. I did some marks already. You are going to measure down, and a lot of this depends on your measuring and sewing. So I find that from the top to where I want the washer to be is usually between 1 3/4 inches to 1 7/8 inches. And I just use my ruler to keep everything straight. I'm going to go 1 7/8 inches because I already did this one. I know where I want it to be. And when you take your little washers that come with these, they're these little oval washers. If you butt that right up against the ruler, you should see your thread right in the center of those holes. So if you're not down far enough and if your measurement's a little bit different, that's okay. What you are trying to do is cover up that thread. So if you're down here or you're way up here and you can see the thread, you're not going to cover up what you sewed. So I just like to use a ruler because it makes everything nice and straight. Once I have that on here, I mark, make sure it's nice and centered, and I mark on the ends. I don't need to cut the entire opening because what I'm cutting is for the screws. Same screws that you have in your icicle. And again, I'm just going to start with my seam ripper. Okay, just get in there a little bit, and then I like to take my little scissors because this is cork, so I really need to make sure that I can get in there. I can twist my scissors right around like that. I also use glue under this washer. I'm not going to for this one. Actually, yes I am, because I'm going to finish this bag. So I'm going to actually just go ahead and put this under here just a little. Okay, take my screw in my washer. And it doesn't matter what side you start on. Push that through. Make sure that you can see it from the front, and then take your little strap keeper. Put that on there. I'm like all thumbs right now. There we go. All right. If I could see what I was doing. There we go. And screw that in place, and then I'll put the other screw in, and I'm good to go. And so when I'm done, that's how it looks. So it's a nice simple set. It doesn't take away from my pretty cork. And now I can go on from here and finish up the bag. So what I worked on yesterday was the lining of my bag. Even though I have hardware on here, I'm still going to finish up the outside like I'm here. There I am. I'm still going to finish up the outside like I normally would. We're having tripod issues. We're on tripod number 2. They're just not cooperating. So before
Not touching it.
before we call it a day, if you have any other questions, if you want to shoot them in there. Next week, I haven't decided on the topic yet. I think I know what I'm going to talk about, but I may change my mind. So it's a surprise until probably Monday or Tuesday. I'll let you guys know. We will be back here again Friday at 11. Like I said, if you're interested, you can catch me on the Log Cabin page Thursdays at 4. Next week, we're talking about panels. So they've got lots of quilting stuff, and send me your ideas. Let me know what you want to see, and let's keep this going. We've got a long summer and fall to fill up with Facebook Fridays. So thanks for stopping by. See you guys later.